Boyfriend's nephew threatens our future. I sat on my porch swing, its familiar creak of comfort. My grandpa had built it years ago, and it still felt like him, even though he was gone. I inherited their house last year, a bittersweet blessing. I missed my grandparents, but I was grateful for their home, my haven. It was especially nice compared to many of my friends, who were struggling to find affordable places to live after college. Adam and I had been dating for over a year, and we had been talking about moving in together this summer. He lived in a cramped apartment with 3 roommates, and my house had plenty of space. It just made sense. Then Adam's world turned upside down. He hadn't been close to his older brother, who, sadly, was hooked on bad things, along with his girlfriend. They had a 5-year-old son, my Adam's nephew, who Adam sent birthday presents to but rarely saw because of the family drama. It was heartbreaking. A couple of weeks ago, the worst happened. Adam's brother's girlfriend passed away, and his brother was headed to jail for a long time. Adam's mom, who wasn't well, couldn't take care of a young child. To make matters worse, the girlfriend's family didn't want anything to do with the little boy. That left Adam. It was either he become the boy's guardian, or the little boy would end up in foster care. My heart ached for Adam, but my own childhood had been tough, full of instability and uncertainty. I didn't dislike kids, not at all, but I knew deep down, I wasn't cut out to be a parent. The noise, the constant need, the responsibility, I wasn't equipped for it. Adam and I had talked about the future, including what would happen if there was an unplanned pregnancy. He knew my feelings, knew that parenthood wasn't part of my plan. So when Adam asked about moving our plans up, about him moving in with his nephew, I was floored. I'm not okay with him moving in, I said, my voice trembling. And because this situation has changed so dramatically, we need to put our moving in plans on hold. There's no room at my place, Adam said, frustration lacing his voice. Rent is so expensive, and I wouldn't be able to afford a new place on my own. Your house has so much room. This is the only thing standing between my nephew staying with family and going who knows where. The argument that followed was intense, raw. Then, Adam's mom started calling, pleading with me to let them stay, at least until they could figure things out. In my gut, I knew a temporary stay would turn into something permanent, the boy getting settled, everyone becoming attached. I wouldn't be able to ask them to leave. Our mutual friends didn't help. They insisted I'd be a terrible person if I didn't help Adam, even just for a little while. You're lucky to have the space, they'd say, their voices filled with accusation. But the thought of having my haven invaded, of the constant chaos, the endless responsibility, it filled me with a creeping dread. I didn't want to kick him out later, but I also didn't want to agree to something that filled me with so much anxiety. Some friends said, this is the end of your relationship, isn't it? They were probably right, and it hurt. A part of me hoped we could still date, see each other without the pressure of living together. I knew getting engaged and married, that was years away for me, and we could use that time to work on this situation, but I knew Adam needed a solution now. This wasn't something he could wait on, and that was a deal breaker. Feeling pressured, feeling like I was backed into a corner, was one of the worst things for me. My gut clenched every time his mom called, each time my friends voiced their disapproval. Maybe we can still be together, live in different places, I said to a friend. She raised her eyebrows, skeptical. We can be in a relationship without living together until his nephew is older. It made sense to me. Maybe it was a compromise, a way to find peace in a chaotic situation. I'm pretty independent, you know that, I told her. I don't need to live with someone to be happy. It was true, I was used to being on my own, taking care of myself. I hoped Adam could understand that, could see it as a real solution. But I wasn't naive. I knew deep down, Adam likely wouldn't stay in a relationship where we didn't live together. Adam hasn't officially taken his nephew in yet, has he? Another friend asked. No, not yet, I explained. He needs a stable place first, something that meets official requirements, before they'll let him become his guardian. His nephew's staying in a temporary foster home right now. My voice trailed off, my mind filled with images of a young boy, alone and confused, in a system not known for its kindness. It wasn't fair, to any of them. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that Adam was in way over his head. I'd known Adam even before we started dating, and he'd never been responsible for a child, not even a pet. He was kind, a good man, but he was also young, and his life up until this point had been free of real responsibility. That was part of the reason why I wanted to take things slow, to ease into living together and eventually, much later on, marriage. After the childhood I'd endured, I needed someone who was grounded, steady. I'm not trying to be mean, I explained to my friends, but I know from personal experience that well-intentioned people like Adam often make things worse for kids who've already been through a lot. They listened, concern clouding their faces, but I knew they didn't truly understand, not like I did. Not everyone who wants to help, can actually do it, and do it well, I went on, my voice gaining strength. And if Adam can't handle it, his nephew's the one who's going to pay the price. My own childhood had been a series of broken promises and instability, well-meaning people who couldn't follow through. Foster care, I knew, wasn't perfect, but it was an option, at least in the short term. At least it meant structure and supervision, and that counted for a lot. Adam can still be involved in his nephew's life, even if the boy's in foster care, I said. Maybe in the future, when he's got things figured out, he can become his guardian. Why can't his mom take him? A friend asked. It was a reasonable question, and I understood why she was asking it. She just doesn't have the room, I said. She lives in a tiny apartment. Plus, she's got health issues, and she relies on financial assistance to make ends meet. I think if she had someone with a job living with her, she'd risk losing those benefits. Couldn't he move into his brother's house? Another friend suggested. It was a long shot, I knew that. Sadly, no, I answered, shaking my head. The situation was more complicated than I wanted to get into, but the reality was that Adam's brother's house was out of the question. And what about your house? Another friend pressed, her voice gentle. Let them stay there, just for a while. It's not that simple, I explained. My voice trembled with frustration, with the urge to make them understand. Even with a lease, I'd have to give them 30 days notice to move out, and if Adam still couldn't find a place, if he refused to go, the eviction process could take another month, at least. It made my head spin, the legal complexities, the heartache it would cause, especially for a child. That means I'd be stuck with Adam and his nephew for months, I continued, and if things went really badly, things could get ugly. I just can't bear the thought of them ending up on the street. Especially his nephew. Then what would happen? He'd be traumatized, scared. Social services would probably have to take him back. I drew in a deep breath, willing myself to remain calm. The truth was, this house, this place my grandparents had built with their own hands, it was more than just wood and nails. This house held my memories, my sense of safety, my refuge from a difficult past. I didn't want to lose that, couldn't bear the thought of that sanctuary being violated, my safe space turned into a battleground. It was the only place I'd ever truly felt at peace. It hurt, so much, because I loved Adam, truly cared for him. But loving someone didn't erase my own needs, my own vulnerabilities. As much as it pained me to admit it, I knew that Adam wasn't ready for this. He was thinking with his heart, and while that was beautiful, it wasn't practical, not when it came to caring for a child. He needed a solid plan, one that didn't depend on other people stepping in to do the hard work for him, and so far, he didn't have that. And in the end, it was me who paid the price. I broke up with Adam, my heart heavy. He was devastated, his reaction confirming my decision. It turned out, my gut feeling was right. A few weeks after we broke up, Adam called, begging to get back together. I asked him, point blank, what about your nephew? It's just too hard on my own, he admitted. It was confirmation, a painful validation of my worst fear. I declined his offer, my voice quiet but firm. He never took in his nephew. It's been months now, and while the ache in my chest remains, a quiet kind of sorrow, I'm sure I made the right choice. It hurt, breaking up with him, saying goodbye to a future we'd planned, but I was better off. My safe space remained mine, and my friends, while still offering occasional words of sympathy, had mostly dropped the subject. I still think about Adam sometimes, wonder how he's doing. I hope, with all my heart, that his nephew landed in a safe, loving foster home, that somewhere, life got a little easier for him. And as for me, I focus on rebuilding my own life, stronger now, and sure of myself in a way I hadn't been before.